Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrant's Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants and immigration and everything in between. Thank you for listening and downloading the show, and thank you for supporting my dad.
Welcome back, Immigrant Nation. Another week, another new episode. Of course, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for your continued support week after week. No matter where or when you tune in on this podcast, your presence means the world to me. If you haven't officially joined the Immigrant Nation community, I encourage you to click that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this podcast. And another way to engage with our community is by following us on social media, where our handle is An Immigrant's Life. There you will find intriguing images, audio clips, and other content that I think you'll find interesting. It is also the place to reach out if you or someone you would like to be a guest on the podcast. And alternatively, you can send an email to animmigrantslife@yahoo.com. Let's connect and let's share your beautiful story. Tune in to our latest episode as we sit down with a talented tattoo artist. Her journey is nothing short of remarkable, from being a medical professional to being a booming tattoo artist in just over 3 years. In our conversation, we delve into the alluring world of tattoos, her creative process, the importance of financing the balance between life and work, and the challenging business aspect of being an artist. This is a very interesting episode and it's such a light conversation, and I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it. So tune in and be inspired, and let me get to the point. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is a tattoo artist. She used to use syringe to cure people physically, but now she just uses it to heal people spiritually or emotionally. Everyone, please welcome Aliana Reyes.
Oh, that was so nice. Well, thank you so much for having me on. Like, I really do appreciate this, and it's really great to be able to be out there, especially coming from, Asian American background, not doing a normal standardized job in healthcare or, the normal 9 to 5, like going into the arts, which is, we all know that's very hard to drift away from our heritage and what we really push our families what we really wanted. But also still want to bring pride to the whole community and everything like that.
Of course, of course. First of all, thank you for coming on the podcast and thank you for reaching back.
I'm sorry it took so long, but I
Oh,
appreciate the patience. And thank you for reaching out too, because I never would have thought someone like me would be noticed at all. Like, I'm just a small time tattoo. I was growing on my own pace too. I'm only been doing this. I hit 3 years in October. I'm very new.
congratulations.
So it's an honor that someone like you noticed me, and I see what you do, and I've seen your awards and what you put out there. And
Thank you.
wow, your editing is great too. Like the music in the background too. And I watch yours, like, wow, this is a vibe. How do you not have more people? But I know social media is hard. It's hard out there.
Yeah, it's hard, but like it was so funny when you reached back. I was like, I would really love to have her on, but if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work. Like it happens all the time, you know? And then you reach back, like, what is going on right now? And I
It's
got
just
so
something
excited.
timing.
I got
Yeah.
like
Oh,
it was like the universe aligned, you know, and I got so
yes, I
excited
know. Yeah,
because
I'm
like
glad.
the only rule that I set up for the podcast, if a person wants to come on, is you have to be a cool person. That's all I care about,
Oh, I
you
appreciate
know.
that. I like
Of
that.
course.
I don't want to say I'm cool. I'm like, yay, someone thinks I'm cool.
What are you
I'm like,
talking about?
yeah, it's funny because I'm like, oh, I do tattoos, and when I introduce it, I tell them I do the nerdy tattoos. I love doing anime, pop culture, video games, and that used to be something when you're younger you would get bullied for, or you would have to kind of hide. Like I remember growing up, I played a lot of video games. Like that was my pastime. I was also very active with sports and everything, and I used to draw a lot. Everyone drew on the corner of their test papers growing up and all. But then it was always like, everyone was like, no, you have to study. It's school. You can't be playing around. You have to go get your nursing degree. You have to do something, college, like traditional routes. And I understand it's different generation, but then I love art and I loved anime, especially loved anime. And it's kind of cool. It's cool seeing it now, how big it's come up. Just the fact that it's in pop, you can see it in designer clothing and
Mhm.
streetwear, video games. Just One Piece live action that just came out. I was so
Mhm.
excited about that because I have a lot of my friends who don't watch anime and they're watching it because they hear how much I talk about it. They're
Mm.
like, and they're giving it a shot. It's a nice like connection for people, and so much so you get to talk to people who watch things. Like it's not just cartoons.
Yeah, of course. Like interesting stuff that expands your brain. It gives you a different perspective. And
Hmm.
by the way, I need to come out. I haven't seen One Piece.
Oh
Well,
no,
okay, I've seen
bits and
parts
pieces.
of it. Yeah, because my when the kids watches, I pass by. I'm like, what is this garbage? And they're like, it's One Piece, the greatest anime of all time. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch a little bit, and then I'll talk smack about it because I grew up with anime too, you know. But I'm like, of course, I'm got older. I got other things that I want to deal
Oh
with.
no, it's hard to have time. I understand that. I didn't have time for actually. It's like kind of bringing. Recently, like past maybe 4 years, is when I reintroduced myself into getting back into finding more time for myself to go back into gaming, to take some time back and relax, to spend time with friends, family, to also like get back into things like I'm back playing tennis again, which I used to
Mm.
do in high school. I've been playing I was actually in a volleyball tournament yesterday, so I'm a little tired and sore
How's
from
the
that.
knees?
Oh, my knee, it was outdoors also, and it was very hot and sunny.
Why? Why?
And
Why?
but it was fun because I haven't done that since 2018, and
Mm.
it's nice to like sometimes you need to take a step back from work and all the stress of life because as an adult you don't have that time, but you have to make the time to
Mm.
de-stress because it's hard. It can't be just work all the time because that's how you get burnt. You getting People burn out quickly, and then you're not happy.
Yeah, I like what you said that because you know how people says that find the job that you like and you'll never work the day of your life. Do you agree with
Precisely.
that, or
I
is
totally
like,
agree with that. And because I've done it and I've worked in different areas of the medical field. When I was in nursing school, I was a medical assistant for a bit too, and I went to school at night for nursing. I even flunked out at one point. I had all those struggles too, and I was trying to figure out like, do I really want to be in medical? I loved working in the hospital. I loved patient health care. And then when COVID hit, I saw a lot of the bad sides of the medical field where it came to insurance and the hospitals not taking care of their people. And that really hurt. Like not taking care of their patients, not taking care of their own staff. And they really just like working under those conditions, it really got to me and mentally, especially. So I took a risk. I took a step back from it. I did get COVID well in the initial first phase of that when it happened in 2020. So like I think end of February 2020, I was like in one of the areas that first got hit with COVID. I was working in that around that area in New Jersey. So we had a lot of the first cases. I got very sick, ended up with like bilateral pneumonia. I never fully recovered from that. Definitely like hence my weights in the background.
till
But
now?
still now, like I do have a
Wow.
hard time like breathing. Like it's not the same. And even till now, but I'm fortunate enough, like didn't lose anyone close to me because of it, and because it was a hard time, and that was a big change, and that's what really got me to rethink what I wanted to do with my life. Because my Lola she lived by herself. She didn't want me to taking care of her, like living with her. She's a very independent woman. She was a nurse for 40 years, labor and delivery when she came to this country, and I wanted to be closer to her. So that also helped me change my job because my best friend growing up, he's also a tattoo artist. He switched from being in the army and he pursued tattooing in 2017. So he actually came back from San Diego because his wife wasn't deployed. She's in the Navy. And while he was here during COVID, he said, I want to open up a business. Would you want to apprentice under me? Because I know you've always loved art. Just give it a shot. Just try it out. If you don't like it, you still have your regular medical job, your regular 7 to 3. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it on the side. And my boyfriend was very supportive. He's like, if you really want to do it, just give it a shot. We're stuck inside anyways. Why not? So I did my very first tattoo we were living in an attic apartment, a little one bedroom attic. It was so small and tiny with our cats. And I saran wrapped our ottoman, right? And my friend had dropped off one stencil. I made a design. It was a mandala. The first tattoo I ever did. I had one stencil, one needle. I had been practicing on fruits, on oranges, bananas for like about a couple weeks. And this is probably I got the machine in March, and so this is around August. This is when I did my first tattoo, and I saran wrapped our ottoman in our living room, and I put the stencil on his arm, and he's like, I only had one shot. I couldn't read it because I didn't have another fingerprint. So I was like, all right, my love. I was like, okay, do you like this spot? Because that's it. He has tattoos though, so it's okay if it was gonna be underneath another tattoo. He's like, that's fine. So I had everything set up, my tray and everything, and I looked at his arm and I said, I tell everyone this story. I said, 1 second, I'll be right back. I went and threw up because I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And it's just funny because like I've 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 bagged bodies, I've dealt with stage 4 ulcers, I've cleaned stomas, taken blood, I've injected things. But the fact that I was about to tattoo someone made me so nervous and scared. It's funny. So I'm like, it's a needle, it's the same thing, but it's just drawing on someone. I was so nervous. And to this day, like I every time I look at the tattoo with him, like we've been together for 4 years and I've been tattooing for almost 3. So whenever I see it, I'm like, please let me fix that. And he's like, no, I love it how it is because it's the first one. Like I'm the one who has this. Like this was your first design, your drawing. I didn't even know what style I wanted to do. I just did. He wanted something like space and molecular, so I just did some like mandala looking thing for him, like something that he like. This is one of one. I don't want anything. I don't want you to touch anything and change it because who can say that I have the very first tattoo you did, and I see it every day.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's like a symbol of your love
I
and
know,
trust.
and it was because if it wasn't for him, like because when you apprentice, it's a lot of time that you need to put in, and you're not making much. It's a lot of grunt work, and it's what you kind of have to do. It's just how it works, and you have to build up a clientele, and that's the best part too. I did really build up a clientele that they still come back now, and it's I'll look at them like, wow, you've been here since the beginning, and they always tell me that they really do see my growth, and because sometimes I don't see it myself. You're your own worst critic in a sense. Every time I look at my stuff, I zoom in, I nitpick, and I'm like, I could have done this, I should have done this. But then I have other people who come to me and they're like, wow, like that last tattoo you did was insane. Like when did you get like that good? Like how'd you do this? How'd you figure this out? I'm like, you see a difference because I don't. And sometimes I need that like reassurance because there's a whole what is the term? I'm forgetting the term for it. Imposter syndrome, especially in this
Mm.
industry.
Yeah.
Because there's people who feel like, there's people who can draw right on the skin. They see it, they envision it. But for me, I'm someone who I like to really prepare. I like to even when I used to be in school, I would type my notes for class. I would write my notes for class, then I would type it, and then I would color code it. Like I'm very like I to a T. I like to have things planned, and it's funny because I then sometimes I feel like I over plan it. Like even when I do my designs, I tell my clients like you're not going to see it till the day of, and that's just out of respect because I've had times where people have taken the design, they go to get it done somewhere cheaper, and it sucks because you put so much.
No.
Yeah,
That
it happens.
happens?
It does happen, and
What an
when
ass.
I know, and it's like I try to be very transparent with people to be like, hey, if there's a budget, you're also but remind you like you're also paying for my time because this is a job that I have to take home. I can't just like it's not like when you do your 9 to 5, you're done. When I have to I have to come home and draw. Like if you don't really get a break from this, it's kind of hard because then sometimes you do lose the spark of creativity because because it does get to work. So then I finally found a way to make it more fun where I put out flash designs of things I want to do because I feel like I'm finally at that point where I'm like, you know what? I could say no. I used to not say no. I would do everything. I will admit I've done probably like some not probably not the best word hood tattoos like you see on like basketball players, like you know which tattoos, the flames, the angels, the prayer, like the praying hands. I've done those when in the beginning.
Hmm.
And when I realized that wasn't for me, and I found my style, I love fine line, especially being so close to New York City.
Hmm.
I do get a lot of people who are like they don't want to go all the way to the city, and they also because it's expensive. It definitely is. So I try to keep a fair range for that, and I also understand I'm new at this, and I kind of just want to do it, and I'd rather charge charge myself lower, like charge a lower rate, but do things I want to do and have fun and like meet other people. I get so many. I love like getting. I just recently had a client from Minnesota come.
Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah.
That's
She was
far.
yeah, she said she made a whole trip because she was like Blackpink was here and then she wanted to get a tattoo. And I'm like, Minnesota? Like I was because she came in and I was like, your accent's I was like, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from Minnesota. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. And she's this little Cambodian girl. She's
Hmm.
adorable. And she's like, yeah,
She's
I've made sure.
Cambodian looking
Look,
and speaks like with the accent of Minnesota.
Minnesota, yes, it was.
That's the
I was so caught
cutest.
off guard. It was so cute. And then she was going to Blackpink, and I was telling her, oh my gosh, I love Blackpink too. And it's fun because tattooing, like you meet so many people, and I used to be very introverted. Like something like this, I would have never done before. And initially, um, I would have to have our shop manager be the one to kind of converse with my clients because I was very a little awkward at
No.
first. Yeah, I was not a very like
That bad?
outspoken person. Yeah, I was very kind of like, oh, I would try to talk, but I was very shy. So I kind of would I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna keep this in just to have like some background. Because sometimes my music doesn't align with whatever we're playing in the shop, like a different
Hmm.
vibe. Like maybe I want to have my own, or I'll listen to. I mean, sometimes when I'm tattooing, I listen to murder podcasts. I'm very into true crime, so that's kind of funny. I'll be like listening to that, and and then it's either that or it's anime music. So it's one or the other. There's no in or K-pop. There's no in between anymore. And but yeah, so and I gradually started to I was like, I have to be more comfortable because a tattooing, it's such an intimate experience and it's an uncomfortable and it's scary, especially for like a lot of first timers. So the way I tattoo and the way want like I portray how I tattoo is like I want the experience to be how I wished my first experiences were because I get a lot of people who tell me like I got a tattoo 10 years ago and it was horrible, so that's why it took me so long to come back. And I hate hearing that because it's art and it sucks that all it takes is one bad experience to ruin everything, you
Hmm.
know? So I
That's why I
really
never
try to
have a
do
tattoo.
my best. Oh
That's
no.
why
I
like when I was younger, I thought of it, and then I start, time passes, and I'm like, I don't think I have the personality for it, because I
and
know,
it's not for everyone. Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
because I for me it's like once it's there, it's forever, right? Well,
Oh,
quote
it
unquote
is.
forever. But I'm a type of a person that like gets into something and then I go crazy on that thing, and then I just once I'm finished, I'm finished. I move on.
Yeah, yeah, it isn't for everyone. And it's funny because I remember being like, oh, I'm never gonna have all these tattoos, and obviously I have a lot. I'm a big Zelda fan, so I have a master
Okay,
sword.
that's beautiful.
But
Which one's
like
your first tattoo?
my first tattoo, I it was it's on my ribs actually.
Mm.
So my first tattoo, I went the day I turned 18. My birthday's June 30th. So normally there's no school, but it was the 1 year that school was extended till that day. I went right after high school with my friend. He was older, and then he's a year older, but he was close with my cousin. And I was like, hey, we're gonna go to the bus stop by school. There's a tattoo shop there. I'm gonna get my first tattoo. I'm gonna put it on my ribs though, because I need to hide it from my parents. Because my dad is heavily tattooed though,
Okay.
but I was not allowed to get that. Not that I wasn't allowed, but I know my mom would be very upset because my dad would always joke, I have enough tattoos for the whole family. He would always say that. He is covered. I have not tattooed him yet either. He's fully covered, like his whole arms, his chest, his
Wow.
up to his neck here. And he's a fashion designer. So I remember, and then I made sure I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my first tattoo. I signed the waiver and everything, and then the tattoo artist asked, "What do you want?" And I was like, okay, had to be safe. I needed to get something in case my parents found out that they would be okay with it. So my dad had Carpe Diem on his wrist, so I was like, okay, I just want Carpe Diem, just Carpe Diem, seize the day, and on my ribs. I gave the guy my $80. He put the stencil on. It's on my right rib here. And I remember having my arm up. He did it. It was so painful. I was holding my friend's hand and I made it bleed. My friend felt, he's like, I
Grabbing you.
probably, and I was grabbing it. It was only like 15 minutes. It was so quick. And then the guy, it was this big, muscular, bald, biker looking guy. And then he's like, I'm done. And then we both looked at it and was like, is it supposed to have the little thing on top of the carpe, like to make the accent? And,
No.
and but we weren't sure. So we both looked at each other like, and we kept looking it up, like, do you add it or you don't? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, let's just not add it, because just in case, they could always add it later. But honestly, I would never do my ribs again. That
That
hurt so
painful.
much.
Speaking of that, which part of the body is the most painful to get
Ooh,
tattooed?
most painful. Um, off the so most painful. I don't have this part done. Inner bicep.
Mm.
What we joke around and like to say, where the sun doesn't shine, that's where it's gonna hurt the most.
Why?
So because your skin is a lot more sensitive in those areas. It's not
Okay.
tough skin at all. I had my sternum done. That was a very sensitive spot right
Mm.
on the bone. Bony spots are also. Uh, it's funny because legs feel very different from your arms because they're, your legs, especially. I find a lot of my Filipino clients who have very muscular legs and calves, especially, they find those legs are very painful spots for them in comparison.
Mm.
It's just because there's a lot of nerve endings, a lot of sensitivity. When you think about it, you're always using them. And besides those spots, palms, hands. I have my fingers done. I did them just to when I was really set on the industry, because this is a job stopper if I ever wanted to leave the field. Even though tattoos should be more accepted in some fields, I feel like it's a different generation that shouldn't be stigmatized on body art. Like I get it if it's something that is inappropriate, that should be covered up, and especially depending on the setting, like, but body art's an expression, and I like people do florals, they're beautiful.
Yeah, they are
And
beautiful. Have you done a face tattoo on someone?
no, I do say no to those. I do say no.
Mm.
And the only one who bothers me for a face tattoo is my dad, and I don't do it. Um, because for face tattoos, it's such a big thing. Like I probably would never do it unless someone is already fully tattooed or is also another artist. And that's just me. Everyone has their own. There are people who will do it just for the money, and that's the thing. I'm also someone who's like, I don't want to just take tattoos, like take a request just to take the money. I want to do it because, it's something I feel comfortable doing. It's a style that I can do, and I want to make sure the work is done right. Otherwise, I will give a client to another artist, or I'll recommend them to someone who can give them what they're envisioning. Because there's a lot of artists who will, like, you kind of lose the love for it, love for it, and focus more on the money. So they'll just do these pieces, even if it's not like something they really want to do. And I feel like you could still have joy in your work, and you just have to prioritize what you want to do. And sometimes you have to like maybe I have to say no to these designs, and focus more on my own creativity and take more time on that. And like you might lose out on some money, but then you have some more joy. It's really a balancing act too.
That's always been the problem with or challenge with artists, right? Like it's
Mhm.
either you go for the money and your art suffers, or you go focus too much on your art and then you don't make
Then
money.
your wallet suffers. Exactly. There's like, it's such a fine line, and it's easy because there will be times, especially when there's slow months. Summer is horrible for tattoo artists. Summer is
Yeah.
so bad. It is
Why?
bec- when it's summertime, everyone's out. You don't get tattoos because you need at least 3 to 4 weeks. No, you cannot be submerging in water. So no
Mm.
pool, no ocean if you're getting a tattoo in the summer. And even just like depending, especially where you are, like the constant sun exposure is very damaging to fresh tattoos. So it's very slow during the summer for us, and it's harder in the summer for tattoo artists because we're really banking on clients. We make That's how we make our money. It's not like we don't have PTO, we don't have a 401k. We really rely on people booking. And it's also very hard when you get people who cancel last minute or just don't show up, because then that's a whole day gone. And yeah, and it happens.
Do you
And I
call them?
we try. We really do. Because for me, for at least for my shop, most shops do it too. We have a booking app, and which we send out reminders. Like you get a week reminder, then a 48-hour reminder also, and then you get confirmations. Like the clients have to confirm too. So that we're being like pretty active with communication with them. And even through that, sometimes you still get people who just don't show up at all. And it's like all it takes is like just call us, text us. Like we won't be upset. I'd rather you tell me that you're not coming than for me to be waiting there. Because sometimes I worry. I worry about my clients. I'm like, oh no, did something happen? Did they get in an accident or anything like that? And I've waited like one time I've waited an hour for someone, and then they just said, "Oh, not that they were like, oh, sorry, but I overslept." And that's a different situation. But I've had people just not show up at all and just completely like lose like contact with them. And it's just like I kind of want to have like respect for my time, even with like lateness too. People don't realize like even being 10-15, we have a 10-minute grace period, you know, and I always like to overextend my time just to make sure like we have time to converse about the design beforehand, because especially if you're seeing the day of, I give time to resize, make little minor changes. But even if you're 15 minutes late for an appointment, it pushes back so much, because realistically you get there, the process of like from you getting there to me even getting the needle on your skin, there's probably like another 30-45 minutes of setting up before that. People don't realize that. So it really pushes back the whole day. And then I feel like it's so unfair to the people after that who were going to come on time, that they get pushed back. And then I have to like kind of balance that too. And I've been a lot more stricter about that. I used to let everyone kind of like step over me before. So I had to please them, because I'm just starting out. I was just like, I always said yes. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like whatever. I wouldn't take a new normally a policy is that if they reschedule, you get first reschedule, you keep the deposit rolls over. It's still granted because that deposit goes towards the cost. It's like the deposit's a commitment to the appointment. It's saying like, hey, I value your time. I'm committed to this. I want to get this tattoo, and that's it. And that's a payment, and that goes directly towards me too. But if they have to reschedule again, we usually take a second deposit, because then at that point it's like, hey, you're doing it again, and this is hard on my schedule, so you
Yeah,
need to pay again, and that does you lose the initial deposit.
a hundred
And I used
percent.
and I used to be like, no, it's okay, I won't take a second, and then those were the people who'd not show up again. So I'm like, you know what? I need to do what's best for me. I need to stand my ground. I need to stop being too. Everyone tells me that I'm too nice, and I was like, okay. And the first time I did, I was like, oh, are they going to be upset at me? And the person was like, oh no, I completely understand. And I said, oh, okay. So that was easy. That wasn't as bad as I thought. I don't know why I thought they would be upset with me, but they're like, no, I understand. It's your time. I'll absolutely send another deposit. And I was
It's
like, oh,
anxiety.
oh my gosh, it is so much anxiety, because artists, you have to be your own promoter.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be the one to put yourself out there. I didn't think going into an art field that like tattooing or this industry, I had to learn how to make TikToks. I had to manage social media. I had to do emails, bookings. I didn't realize there's so much interactive things you have to do, and it's so much to
Mm-hmm.
keep up with. Like I really use a calendar, and my calendar is like it's so filled with so many things I have to do, and I have to give myself deadlines. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you work for someone, but you're also your own boss at the same time. It's a
Yeah, for
big
sure.
balancing act.
How
Yeah,
you
and
dealing with the people pleasing?
better. I feel like I get a lot of people now that they kind of know me, or like I feel like I do a lot of I like to have consultations too with clients before we really get into the tattoos, like even before booking an appointment. And I'm glad, like I'm very blessed. I get a lot of great clients, very good personalities. I have not had handful of bad experiences tattooing. Like there's definitely people who like artists who have probably had like horror stories where people like came in drunk or were
Bro.
yelling or screaming or stuff like that. Our shop is only appointment based too, so we don't even take in walk-ins. And I always offer consultation, especially for first time people, if they just want to just get a vibe, because sometimes you need to vibe with your artist and see if it's someone you want to work with, or even if to just talk about the design if you're unsure, and to see if you're on the same page, or even just get some inspiration for other things, because maybe your idea like would look good as some like as a graphic, but not as a tattoo. There's like some things that get lost in translation when you're just
Yeah,
typing on through text and Instagram when you're just DMing, and sometimes they just I like to have a conversation
for
and just show
sure.
them what I'm thinking.
For
Mm.
sure. There's no like an 18-year-old coming in asking for a Carpe Diem tattoo, you know?
Oh my gosh. And oh, it's so weird now. Then you're seeing these young kids that are when they sign the waiver and I look at the date and I'm like, oh my God, they're 18. They're getting a tattoo, and I'm looking at the tattoo and I'm like, oh, I can't. The fact that the kids that are 2000 and can get tattoos now, I feel so old. I feel so old. And I'm the oldest of four.
Mm,
So I'm 28. My sister is, I have two sisters and a brother. My sister, a 14-year-old sister, she just started her freshman year of high school. My brother's 13, my other sister is 12. So back to back.
Whoa, what a space.
Yeah, big space. Yeah, big space. And yeah, my mom had me when she was 14. So
What?
yeah,
That
it's
is
it's so,
early.
very early. So I grew up only child, and then I grew up raising children pretty much in high school. Like
Yeah,
at the
being
same time,
Filipina,
because my mom was a working mom.
you have to be the ate, you have to be the nanay, you have to like,
Mm.
hey, make sure they're doing their homework, they're fed and everything.
And it's so funny. My mother, because she's second gen. She was born here, and
Mm.
she's young. My mother has no ounce of Filipino in her. I don't know what happened. And because my mom went to school, so she went to get her master's, and she's an accountant. She went to get her master's, her MBA. So my Lola would take care of me. My Lola was in the Navy. He retired, took care of me. So I grew up more with them. I still live with my mom there. And then my Lola was still a nurse, but I was always around them. And somehow like it just that the Filipino like wanting to connect with the culture skipped that generation for my mom. She's been there once. I used to go there every summer growing up. I would be there.
Oh.
I didn't know if that was punishment. Maybe I was a bad kid, but I used to love going. My family was from Camarines Norte in Duarte, and then my Lolo side was in Iloilo. So I would spend like 1 month in the south and 1 month in the north, and I used to love it
Woo.
because it was like the country versus the city.
Yeah.
Um, my Lola's side would have like the carabao and the rice patties. So we'd always be trying to like bother them, and then we're like running around just in the market and everything. And then my family always being like, "Don't speak English when you're here," and I'm like, "But I can't speak anything else
And
because
they
I
never
can
taught you how to speak it anyway.
no like." And it's a and I and I feel so like sometimes I feel so ashamed. Like I they never taught me how to speak
Yeah.
or like clear and like I can understand bits and pieces if it's slow enough, like in context too. And I that is something in the future, like if I do ever have children, I would love for them to learn. Like I'm starting to like learn, immerse myself in more languages. I am doing Japanese, of course, because that is what I do. And I do plan on going to Japan and hopefully in the next 2 years I want to do a trip there for like a couple of weeks. So I'm learning that. I'm doing Japanese. My Spanish is pretty okay, but I definitely want to get Tagalog is on the list because I do want to pass that down eventually.
100%. You mentioned earlier that you were a troublemaker when you were young. What kind of troubles you got into?
Oh, no, I was just such a tomboy. I was a tomboy. I was the girl who was trying to get into the fights with with my boy cousins because we're roughhousing. I was always like I was an only child
Hmm.
for 14 years. I played basketball. My dad was my coach, and up until fourth grade, I went to Catholic school too. There was no girls team until fifth grade, so I played on the boys team. So I was like rough and tough. I was always getting dirty. I played video games. I would stay up late. My mom would always be like, "Oh, you're not studying. Like, why are you doing this and that?" And then I'd be like a mess. Like, and even in high school, I did JROTC in high school. Yes, I
I
did
hate that
that.
shit, bro. I hate that. Like, you're not telling me what to do. Get out of here.
I loved it. I don't know. I I almost honestly went into the army because of it. My mom said, "You're not going into the army." I'm like, "Why not?" And
I'll
I
kill
did
you
it for
first.
literally. I did it for all 4 years of high school. I loved it. We won competitions. I Every Wednesday we wore a uniform. We would be there before the school opened. And then every Saturday we had practices in the park, 7 a.m. every
What?
Saturday. I'm like, and this is
What a
our on our
nerd!
and you know what the funny thing is? That we were the cool ones in high school. JROTC was cool in high school because I went to a very nerdy high school. It was like a very college prep. You had to test to get in Jersey City.
Mm.
And the JROTC was the cool kids growing up. And it's just so funny because it was like me and my best friend. He was the commander. My best friend was the commander. He's the dorkiest of the dorks then.
Oh,
And
you
it's
don't
just
have to tell me. He's the leader of the dorks.
and it's funny because his wife was his second in command too. His current wife now, and
But
they
now
just
she's in command.
now she's in command. It's so funny. But yeah, I used to love it. We would compete in Kentucky. It was like the whole road trips going all the way there, and
The
because you're in
camaraderie, of course.
camaraderie, yeah, and like having groups and I also did sports, so it was a lot. I was very active, and I was always out and about. And so I guess I would lose my focus on studying, so I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to do swimming. I wanted to do tennis. I had JRTC practice. I was trying to do dancing also on the side. Like I did so much. I wanted to do art, and then my mom was like, "You need to focus on your math." And I was like, "I hate calc. I hate stats. I don't like these classes. I want to do." I used to love. We had an AP film class. It was the best class. I did AP film, AP art history, sculpture, fine arts. I did those classes. I like my focuses, and then I did like of course I had my bio, my regular like science and math. I love science. It's math. I don't like math.
No one likes math. Well,
Oh my
nerds.
god.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
grateful that some people loves math.
Yeah,
I'm
someone has
grateful.
to.
Yeah, because somebody has to calculate the sun, the distance of the sun to the earth, or something like that.
Someone had to figure that out for sure.
But it's
And
not
it's
for
hard.
me.
Yeah, and then it's hard when your mother is an accountant and you're trying to do math homework and she's just like, "Why can't you do it?" I'm like, "You're stressing me out." So if you ever have them, I don't know if your parents did it, but like they're trying to help you with your homework. She's like, "Why don't you just get it?" And I'm like, and then you're crying because I can't get it because you're mad. Like,
Girl, I do that with my kids now.
oh my god, I don't know.
Like 1 + 1,
Like, why can't you get
2.
it?
1 + 1, 2. 1 + 1, 11.
Uh,
Yo, you
oh my
don't know
god.
how hard to teach someone till you teach a toddler about 1 + 1. Bro, I
I I
swear
ho-
to God.
I hope I have a couple years before. I have years before that, but it's probably funny now. You probably see it from the other side
Oh,
from your
I
family.
will take probably a tattoo on my rib over
The
teaching a kid
teaching.
1 + 1. Because that's how painful it is. It's so
Oh,
painful. It's just like what your mom said. Like, how can you not get it? It's 1 + 1. It doesn't even make sense.
mm.
Who pushed you to be in medical? Because mom is accountant.
It was no, it was my mom.
But
My mom
she's
pushed
an
me.
accountant. She didn't push you to be an accountant?
Exactly. I said, "Mom, you're pushing me to be a nurse and be in the medical field, but you're not even a nurse." And she was just like, but my mom, because how she grew up, they didn't grow up wealthy, they didn't grow up poor, but I know she always wanted what was best for me, but it was hard because I know she always put into my head, you need to get a job that's going to make you money. And that was the mindset. She said nursing is going to make you money, and anything medical is going to make you money. Just go into that. You do PT, do OT, nursing, something medical. You don't got to be a doctor, but just something. And I would just, when you're 17 or 18 and you have to make this decision to go to a college and really and pick what your major is going to be, and that's supposed to be for the rest of your life. It's scary.
That is
And
scary.
my high school, unfortunately, like I loved my high school, but the one thing they frowned upon a lot was community colleges, which
Okay.
aren't, they were very like, you cannot go to a community college. It is it's the low. They would kind of make it seem like demeaning. They really push, like we had a lot of people who would go to the Ivy League schools, or like the big, like those, like the Big Ten schools.
Mm-hmm.
They really push for that, like those 4-year colleges. But if I had known that you could get your credits so much cheaper at a community college, like do the first 2 years there, then
Mm-hmm.
transfer, I would have even so much debt that I have. But I didn't know that. And then also, and my
No one
mom really
teaches you that
no one teaches
because
you
it's a
that.
game.
It's the same education. You're getting the
Mm-hmm.
same, you just need to get the gen ed. You're just getting your major stuff at the 4 year.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And you get the paper that says, well, let's say
same paper.
Harvard, whatever.
And you know what? Who looks at that after? No one.
No
Because
one
you could
gives a
have
shit.
people from Harvard who have the worst bedside ever.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they're smart doesn't mean they have ethics, And that's what got me so frustrated. Like during, like, even just like after college, when I realized I'm like, I could have saved so much time and money, could have figured it out differently. Because right away I was forced, like, I have to be in this nursing program. So I was just so stuck on that. I originally went undecided, but I made sure to be in the science field. I went for like my Bachelor of Science. Like I stayed in the field just in case, like maybe I was going to go in psych or something, just somewhere to be around there. And then when I when I flunked out of the nursing program by 1 point the first time,
Oh, bro.
it was bad. It was very, very bad. And I was literally like, this is my whole life imploding. I'm like, what do I do? It's like, this is everything. Like, and I couldn't tell my mom. I was so scared. I'm like, I can't tell her. Like, I was like, how do I tell her? And then I was dorming, and they lived in Boston at the time. So I was all alone here. And I was just like, I need to figure this out on my own. So I took loans out, and like I redid my classes and everything. And then I got my degree. I just have a Bachelor of Science just to get it done. And then I wanted to go back for nursing a couple years later. I was just trying to figure myself out. I worked a lot of restaurant jobs. I was hosting, I was working kitchen, always worked I worked at a bubble tea shop for many, many years. I ran that too. Me and my best friend too. I stay working with him. I don't know why. Everywhere he works, I work for some reason. And we worked at a bubble tea shop together. It was like the most popular one in Jersey. It closed down now, but we had a lot of good memories there. Like I can make some good tapioca. And then like, making my way through that, trying to figure out what I'm doing in my 20s, like where do I want to go? And I said, okay, I want to go back for nursing. And I found a night program to do so I could still work in the daytime, just do all my regular stuff. Found a medical office to work out of. And then COVID hit. And now I'm 28, and it's like it all, like, I that whole middle is such a blur of my 20s because everything happened so fast, so many big changes. And I think I was very lost at that time. When like my 22 to 25, I was very lost. Felt because I there was finally that time where you didn't have someone telling you what to do. You were kind of on your own. You didn't have a schedule. Like getting into college, you don't have anyone telling you you have to go to class. You have to make that decision for yourself. But then when you're out of school, it's just like you really have to hold yourself accountable for doing things. Like you need to get out of bed. You need to go make sure you pay these bills. You need to make sure that you set aside time to do this and that, or do groceries, to do laundry, like little things. And because it really piles up quickly.
So,
And yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna assume that living with mom, everything is like by the tea, right?
before, yeah,
Yeah.
before.
So,
And her being so close in age caused a lot of, like, we weren't very close when I was in high school. Because when she just gave birth to my siblings, she was very tiger mom. I was closer to my dad because he understood, like, he was the creative. He was the more like, literally, I'm only left-handed because my dad's left-handed. And I remember in first grade, I used to be right-handed. I still am with everything else I do: sports, eating, drive, like everything right-handed. Drawing, writing, left-handed. First
really?
grade, first grade, I was like, I want to be like my dad. I took the pencil. I just started writing with my left hand. The nun, oh my gosh, Sister Salvita, she took the ruler and slapped it. She said, no, that's the devil's hand.
Mm-hmm. The devil's
And
hand.
the devil's hand. I still did it. And then I've been left-handed ever since.
Holy crap. Did you get hit every day? Because you're still using left.
Yeah, then she gave up. She gave up after a while. It was first grade though. I remember this. Oh,
It's the most ridiculous idea ever. Like, left handed people are the devils. Like, why?
why?
It
It's
doesn't
just
even.
different.
I think
And
it's
it's
just
funny.
because different. Yeah.
it's different, and it's funny because every time people are like, "Oh my God, you're left-handed." That makes so sense because left-handed people are creative, and I'm like, sure. I just switched my hand because my dad was left-handed, and I wanted to do that.
That's funny. Speaking of your
Oh,
tattoos, you focus on anime tats more often, right? Why did you decide that style?
I, for that style, originally I wanted to do American traditional, like dark, bold tattoos, black and gray. Um, my mentor, my best friend, who's my mentor at the time, he specializes in fine line floral realism, completely different things. So he also knew like I'm someone he could teach me, but I'm also someone who picks up on things pretty quickly, and I also like figuring it out myself. So he was kind of guiding me in a very different way from a regular apprenticeship is, where they're usually making you do everything. He gave me more freedom. He was like, I want you to just try, just do it, try it. And it really became to the point where I was like, okay, I know I like to do black and gray. I like the fine line, but what can I do that will also keep me interested in keeping doing this? Like in the beginning, I did it was always like little flowers here and there, little butterflies, like stuff like that. And it got so repetitive. And I asked myself, I'm like, what is popular right now? And then I was doing some research. I went on Reddit and forums and I was like, whoa, anime tattoos are pretty big and pretty popular. And then as I like immersed more into that, there's a huge anime tattoo following out there. There's anime tattoo conventions now that happen. There's like really, really big artists that I look up to on each coast. And it's crazy. Like, it's just like within the past couple of years, anime has like, maybe it's because I'm an adult now and I'm more open to being like, yeah, I watch anime and I enjoy it a lot. Like I do watch normal stuff, but hey, it makes me feel like a kid sometimes, and there's a lot deeper meaning to it than it just being a cartoon. Like there's a lot of feelings and emotions you could experience a from an animation, which is the craziest part. And that's what really pushed me, like, you know what? I've always loved this, and this is something I could find that I could talk to people about. Like, I love when clients come and we're able to converse about a show, or like or even recommend new shows to each other. And we're like, oh, have you heard of this one and this? I have so many so many articles of like clothing. I just got a new bag that because a client had it, and I was like, oh my God, where'd you get that? And she promoted me to she showed me a brand new person who just started their own clothing line, and I'm like, I'm gonna support that. And it's kind of cool because like you get every like community has their toxic people, but generally I've been glad I've been getting like the good side of the anime community where we're all just fun nerdy people who vibe.
Yeah,
And
there's always like that bully, you
there
know.
is.
Like we try to fight these bullies, and then suddenly you're the bully. You dummy. You
Yeah,
know.
and because everyone's so easy to say something when it's behind a keyboard, behind a
Mm-hmm.
computer. But
Yeah.
and
Do you get hate online?
I hope not. No, I hope not.
Okay.
Not, but I do see it like elsewhere with like people who are like really big like on the social media.
Hmm.
And like I'll see the comments. I'm like, why? Like, why do people even post something so negative? Like, what you really had to go? Oh, you had to click that you're gonna comment, type the comment, like you had
Mm-hmm.
to type it out and then send it. Like you had two steps that you could have backed out of like spreading some negativity. Like I don't get it, especially when you're putting down someone's art.
Oh,
No,
100%.
you can't put down someone's art or putting down like someone's style of how they do something when
Hmm.
it's not even something you do. Like you don't know how someone works. Like it's not. I don't understand it.
I like this line about that. That's hurt people hurt people.
That's true. They
You
do.
know, because if you're like a cool person, you would never do that. You would never
No.
message
I,
a tattoo artist like, "Oh, why did you go left instead of right?"
yeah. This is like you don't judge someone based like on what they do. Everyone they walk to their own beat. Everyone walks to their own beat. They have their own reasons for doing the things they do. And honestly, I'm glad I work at a shop where we're not competitive with each other. Like there's shops that are very competitive with each other where they'll really fight for getting the clients for them.
That's
For
dumb.
us, it is, and I've heard stories from that. I'm lucky, like this is the only shop I've been, but from my coworkers who've worked at other shops, he came in and I remember he was saying like, I'm not used to people even like sharing things like
Being nice.
I offered to share him like my ink. I was like, hey Ryan, whenever you need colors, just go into my cabinet. And he's like, really? Like they used to lock it up at the other shop. Like people would lock their stuff up and everything. I'm like, no, dude, I'm like, as long as you let me know if something's low, it's
Hmm.
fine. Or just don't like overuse it
Yeah.
or put something back. And we're very like, I love it because like we're hanging out, and then he's been tattooing like longer than me. So sometimes I'll go over and watch it. I'm like, hey, how do you do that? And like he tells me, it's very open, and like we're all teaching each other and taking different techniques. And
Hmm.
even if it's just like I'm using a different product this time, and they're like, whoa, I want to try that. And it's always like a learning and growing experience because the industry changes so quickly,
Hmm.
and there's just all so many different styles and new products coming out. Like I tattoo with a wireless machine. It's
Wireless.
yep,
What
it's
if
a
it
complete
dies in the middle?
nope, 10-hour battery charge.
You
And I
never
have two
forget.
batteries. Nope, I charge it
Okay.
every day.
All
Yeah,
right.
like it's really advanced now because it's wireless, it's an easy setup.
Mm-hmm.
There are some machines that have Bluetooth compatibility too. I don't know why. It's not like they play music. That's the one my best friend has that one. I'm like, that's too fancy. I just
Yeah,
want one
yeah.
that I just want the buttons to tell me everything because I used to have a wired machine, but I would get tangled a lot.
Mm.
Being left-handed is hard enough.
Well, because you're the devil, you
I'm
know?
a double. And then when I was first learning to tattoo, I was very confused. I'm like, why is everything wiping off? Like when you put this because you put a stencil down in the
Yes.
and I was learning from a right-handed person, and I was doing what a right-handed person was doing. So for like almost half a year, it took me forever. I was so frustrated. I'm like, why is it not like staying? Why is everything? Then I finally found like my rhythm and
Mm.
how I can tattoo,
I
and then it
love
clicks,
that. I
and
want to
it's just
ask
so
you,
funny.
what happens when a person that got a tattoo loses weight or gain weight? What that does the
Oh,
tattoo get online? What happens?
there are gonna, especially when it's super drastic body changes, you're gonna see
Mm.
some changes with that one. I get that a lot with clients who, especially this area.
Mm.
You know, if you know, people, this is a very drastic change. Like you can get very muscular, or like if you lose weight, it's very flabby.
You're under your
So
arm?
underarm. So
Yeah.
I tend to tell people, you know, when especially when it comes to placement, be mindful. Like if you're on a journey where you're really trying to do drastic changes with your skin, you kind of want to tighten it up first because it will affect the tattoo. Like you know, our bodies are constantly changing. My first tattoo is not as thin at all when I first got it. It's kind of bold and big now, but I'm not 100 pound 18-year-old anymore, you know. I'm you and then women too, their bodies go through so much change. But generally the body's pretty resilient. Like I've had a client who was pregnant and her tattoo it stretched, but it came back and it pretty much
Wow.
it retained pretty well. Like she only needed a little touch up just because there was some stretch, but it was very interesting when you see it. And
That's
you
cool.
also, even with tattoos too, placement's very important. And I tell people like there are parts of your body that you don't realize that are going to twist and move your arm. For example, you could put something flat on your arm here. I tell people this one all the time. This one, it's straight. The moment I turn, it's not. Like so it's always about perception too. Like, do you want it to be at an angle for other people, for you? How does it look? And I always tell people when I put the stencil on, be vocal. Tell me if you want me to move it because I'm always open. The stencils, it's temporary. I wipe it off with alcohol. We can always move it, and I tell them look in the mirror, pose with the tattoo, envision it, like we see if you like where it's at because this isn't a permanent decision. And sometimes it's me too. I'm a little OCD. I'll be like, you know, like I'm gonna move it again. I didn't like how this looks,
That's funny.
but
Speaking of that, have you ever committed an error on tattooing? And did you fix it? And how did you fix it?
mm, error. Not purposefully. Like
Oh,
I'm
of course.
error. I did have one when I. Oh, I'm trying to think of one. Nothing too. I don't think I would have had anything like too like no like misspellings. Like I real with words
Regrets? No
no
regrets.
no. I absolutely like I triple check with people, especially when it's something in different language. I do a lot of Babayan too now, and
I love that,
that
by the way.
especially I tell people, I tell them I'm like I do not specialize in this. I don't know the language, so I need you to make sure when you're giving me the babayan you want that you making sure that's the correct translation. And it's funny how people like, I called my family in the Philippines to check. I checked online. I'm like, you need to make sure because I don't want to be held responsible if this is insulting someone's mother or something. If it's
Yeah.
anything mixed, even like the way,
Let me
because
know. I'm pretty okay with babayin.
oh, I mean, I might need to send people to you then. But yeah, and then did have one instance where my heart dropped. So I did the tattoo, and then a week later, it was one of my regulars, and she just did one like a normal one there, and she messaged a week later, and she said, "Hey, I made a mistake. There's a mistake on the tattoo." My heart
No.
dropped. I was like, "Oh no!" And she's like, "No, no, no, it was me. I forgot to add. It was one of the little crosses, little
The
accents underneath
kudlets.
the kudlits." Yes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness!" I thought like something. I thought maybe it was backwards or whatever or
Oh
anything. It
my
was just that.
God.
I was like, "Oh, that's so easy." I was like, "Okay." I was like, come in next week." I just did that, but my heart was
Yeah.
so scared.
But that just to, you
I was
don't
just
really have
adding.
to add the kudlet, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Then like
You
then that was the and that was probably like one of the worst ones, I would say. Otherwise, like, because as you're tattooing too, you have to deal with your clients move, people move, and
Yes.
they do. And you could try to hold them as much as you can, but I get it. It's painful. I try to make them as comfortable as possible. Like I have a pillow, I have stress balls. My stress balls are Pokeballs, actually. They're really cute.
What a
They're children,
nerd.
but I love it because every time I give it to someone who uses it, they're like, "Oh my God, is this a Pokeball?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's more fun though." I could have just got a normal, boring blue stress ball. And I'm like, "Nah, it's gonna be a Pokeball,
Of
of
course.
course." And I have different colors. So I asked them like, "Hey, what color do you want?"
Ah, that's cool. Speaking of that, so tattooing can be like very physically demanding, right? How do you manage your long hours, like focus on doing what you're doing?
Oof. Initially, it was very hard. Like initially, when I first started, I had to be very mindful, especially with my back and my body. I didn't
Mm.
realize how much of a toll on your back it takes, like especially tattooing in that position. So I really make sure I don't with my time. Like I have coffee every morning. I need a coffee, but I have to set it far enough. I have to have it at least 30 minutes before I tattoo because I can't have it right when I tattoo because then I'm going to be a little jittery. You don't want that. You don't want a jittery a jittery artist. But in the beginning, it used to be three monsters in the day because the
Three
7-Eleven,
monsters.
yeah, that's the max you can have in 24 hours.
That's a lot.
'Cause I know it was really bad. My heart rate was always high, but it's like I needed it because I would be working like 12 hours initially, and I was working 6 days a week because I just starting out, and then I was taking maybe like 6 to 8 clients a day, and that's a lot of people. And I kind of slowly learned I need to, if I want to produce the work I want to produce, I need to slow down and time myself better. I'd rather take less people in a day so that way those 4, 5 people can get the best amount of work out of me, especially towards the end of the day. And it's really about planning out like every week I plan out my week. Like I have my designs on Sunday, Mondays are my days off. So that's when I will draw for whatever's coming up that week. And I'll try to do 2 weeks if I can. That way I could have some downtime to, play video games, relax, just chill at home, do errands. And ever since I've switched that to that schedule where I'm like, you know what, I'm capping out at 4 people a day. If it's a big piece, I'm only doing one big one because I could be tattooing for 6 hours straight. That's the max I'll do though. But with breaks in between, like we'll take like 5, 10 minute breaks. My the thing I'm worst at is I don't eat. So I'm not I feel for some reason I feel bad stopping in the middle of a tattoo to ask them if I could take a lunch break. Even though
Yeah.
I've gotten tattoos that are long sessions where my artists have asked me that can they eat, and I said yeah, of course. I don't know why I can't do it. I just
It's
feel and
people pleasing.
I know it's the people pleasing, and and it's funny because a lot of my regulars are like now they know me and they're just like nah go, they're like go eat, just go. They just know me now. It's so bad.
I don't want you
Like
passing out.
they don't like they'll bring me snacks and stuff now too because they're like I know you're not gonna eat so just have this. It's whenever we take a little break. And I'm like, okay, fine. But
Hmm.
it is a balancing act. And I finally found a routine where I could definitely output the work I want to produce and for everyone equally. Like, And that's all I want to do. I want to make sure the work is you're paying for you know you get what you pay for. And I
Mm-hmm.
really want to make sure like this is worthwhile because you're coming to me and trusting me with such a permanent thing. And I'm already honored to be doing that. Like putting my art on your body, that's already insane enough that there's people out there that I tattoo.
Mm.
And and it's so nice to hear when I get new clients and they're like, oh my God, I saw this guy with your tattoo and I asked him where he got it. So this is how I found you. I'm like, wow, like this is just out there and like that. Or
Yeah.
when I recently saw a comment on, I just finally got into TikTok. I'm
Mm.
trying to do that. And I saw a comment, I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to get tattooed by you eventually. And I was like, that's weird. Like thinking that someone's like planning to like want to get something from me
What are you
in the
talking about?
future.
There was a girl that traveled
I
from
know from
Minnesota. What are you talking
Minnesota.
about?
I know. And then I also have like I have a regular from Maryland who comes every other couple months. And I'm
That's
like, you
crazy.
drive, I'm like, you drive 4 to 5 hours to come here. And then the tattoo's probably like 2 hours. And then you have to drive back the same day. He found me on Instagram. And
Mm.
he's so nice. He's like the sweetest guy. And his parents, I've even tattooed his parents. They came one
Oh, that's
time.
amazing.
And I just actually went in on the first, we're closed. The shop was closed, but I went in for him because it was his birthday. And that was the
Mm.
only day. Him and his dad got matching Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, the fist bump. So they
Yes.
each got one. So when their arms are together, the fist bump. Because then I
That's
was like,
cute.
and I was like, I know your schedule is hard and I don't mind coming in. That even though we're closed, I'll come in for you. It's just you guys. And
Oh,
they're very nice people. He's very supportive. So yeah. And he's like around like 23, 24. I'm like, dude, you make the drive all the way here. I could drive 20 minutes on my day off to go to work and tattoo you guys. It's fine. Like I do not mind. And he
mm.
still brought me a gift. And I'm like, it's your birthday. Why are you freaking me? He brought
What
me
a
like a
sweetheart.
kilo of pop. Yeah. And it's like those really nice relationships I build with.
I want to
Mm,
ask you, what do you find the most rewarding about being a tattoo artist?
most rewarding. The most rewarding thing about being a tattoo artist is when you're done with the tattoo and seeing your client's reaction to looking at the tattoo. And just when you see them light up, it just makes you feel so good because there's times where you're like, you get a little nervous, like you're like, oh, you're at the end. I'm like, oh, I hope this is what they envision. Because you know, going from a digital rendering of what you're doing, like you can only show so much versus what's on the skin. Like it's because it's gonna be very different. And I'll tell them like, just you have to trust the process. And you know, you most of the time they trust the artist. Like if you're going to the artist, you're trusting them. And then as there's a little that pause when you're wiping down the final wipes because they probably haven't looked and you're like, okay, they're about to see it. The artist is waiting to see the client's reaction. You wipe it, you're like, okay, you can get up now, you can go look at it. And then like it's the when you hear the gas, it's like the so satisfying. It's like, yes, like oh, and then they're like, oh my God, I love it. Like it's and then when they say it's better than I imagined, I'm like, yes, like that's what I love hearing. That is like the most satisfying thing is just seeing their reaction and seeing a smile on their face and then them trying to grab their phone and being trying to take they're like, can we take pictures already? I'm like, relax. We're gonna take photos once it settles, and we put some spray. And we also have a photographer and she's wonderful because
Mm.
she really helps a lot. She showed us what a diffuser is and everything, and she's what's really helping our content in general. And she gets me better too. Like as like I said, it's a lot about promoting yourself and social media is hard. It's hard. Instagram makes it very hard too.
You do well. You do all
I
right.
try. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I understand. It's so hard to like. This is not what I want to do. I want to tattoo people. I don't
No,
want to take pictures.
I just want to do the other stuff. And I don't got money to hire an assistant. And I don't want to hire an assistant because then that's someone else I have to deal with. I'd rather just figure it out on my own. And bless people who do like have like we're doing all of this like all the time. Like I know there's a lot of artists who are just on their own, like no studio or anything. I'm lucky enough to have like I have a shop manager who he he goes through the inquiries and he'll forward them to me. Like we have very like clean system of like a huge paper trail. So that way there's no loss in communication too. And like I don't give my phone number out to clients. I learned the hard way because they will text you. They'll be late. It'll be like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and they drunkenly have a genius idea for a text. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, we're not this close. We can't talk. And I
Listen,
learned that.
how about a clover
Oh,
on top of like a one piece? How's
and
that?
it'll be like, I'm like, and you'll know it's like one of those nights where they're just out and they're probably with people, and I'm like, oh, it's a 3 a.m. text message. I'm sleeping. Please don't text your tattoo artist unless you're cool with them like that. And it's funny too, because even now, if I go out in my area and if I'm in downtown Jersey City and if I'm with my friends, I tell my friends, please don't tell people I do tattoos. Please, like I just
Oh
want to, because
my
once
God.
because
Yes, I
once you
can
do,
imagine.
every time, because I'm like, don't say it, like don't do it, like when it happens. I'll be like, yeah, she did my tattoos, and then it starts, and then people are like, oh my gosh, can you do this, and this? Can I talk to you about my idea? And I'm like, I'm just trying to enjoy my night out.
Can I
This
just
is
drink, bro?
Can I just drink? And I'm like, and it's happened where I've accidentally agreed to tattoos because I was a little too tipsy, and then it happens, and I'm like, why did I agree to this?
Because you
So
were
I tell them
drunk.
because I was drunk and I was just trying to be nice, people pleaser. And then I tell them, so now it's just like, there's an inquiry form. You do it online. I will get to you when I
Beautiful.
get to you.
That's
Oh,
beautiful. And listen, I think we're there. But before we close out, I want to ask you one more thing. What advice would you give to someone considering getting their first tattoo? And how can they ensure a positive experience to the design and that they will love years to come?
so my advice for that, for especially for first time tattoos, take your time, do the research. There are so many resources out there, and don't just settle for the first artist you see. I would say also, especially with social media, there is so many more ways to find artists. You don't have to walk into shops anymore to find a book that they have laying out there. Everything's online, and consultations. Talk to artists. Like most consultations are free, and a consultation is not a commitment. It is just a conversation. And sometimes like you have to vibe with your artist, and like they will guide you through the tattoo experience, explain the process to you, and even to get your nerves calmed down to make you feel more comfortable. And you want an artist, some artists are not as spoken, they might not be as talkative, but some are also willing to talk and converse, and you want to find someone who makes you comfortable and also a space that makes you feel safe. Don't go to some basement that has a weird tattoo shop and is dark and dingy or something like that. You want to make sure it's a clean place, safe place, not your friend's college dorm. I know that that's a new thing all the kids are doing. I'm not trying to be a mother or anything, but it's a tattoo. You want to take your time and think about it. Like, would I cover my first tattoo? No, I don't regret it. Would I have changed things? Yes, but if I had taken a little longer to talk to someone and you, just be open, just be like, hey, these are my concerns. This is what I'm nervous about. You're scared of needles? Tell them, and then they're gonna guide you through it. Because if you find a artist that is very good at what they do and will have the experience of giving you what you want, you're gonna have a great experience to it. But also don't let one bad experience spoil it for you forever, because not all artists are the same, not all shops are the same. But definitely take the time to do research, read reviews, ask your friends where they go, and do consultations, especially that.
Well said. Aliana, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah. Before we close out, which I forgot to say earlier, if you want to say your Instagram account where they can reach you or if you want to promote anything.
Oh, okay. So my Instagram account is at Aliana Marie, AlianaMarie. Oops, Aliana Marie, and that is my work account with all my tattoos. You will mainly see anime tattoos on there because that is what I specialize in. But I do other things, and those are my highlights. I do like silhouette portraits, fine line, words, babayan. I also dabble in color tattoos, even though I post a lot of black and gray. But I'm very open to, I love just trying out new things. I want to do more. So I'm always down for a challenge. And all of my contact information is on there, my inquiry forms. And also you'll find the links to the shop if you want to just see what the shop looks like. I work at Fate Maison. It means self-made. And it was a business that a bunch of friends kind of put together and did during COVID. And it's a spot we like to hang out. We have a lot of plants. It's a nice vibe. And we're probably the chillest people you'll ever meet. And you'll probably learn a little too much when you come visit us if you ever come for a tattoo, because we're very open. And now we have a TV and a Switch. So we're
moving up.
Now we're moving up. I'm excited.
Excellent. Again, Aliana, thank you so much for coming to podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was really fun, and I can't wait to see more of your work. I'm gonna definitely. I've been telling people about you.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you.
Even from all the way from Jersey, little Jersey.
Of
and
course.
I'll make my way up there one day, and maybe you'll come down for a tattoo. If not, then just come by, just come visit.
For sure, I will. Anyways, have a good day.
You too. Take care. Have a good holiday.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again, Ali, for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.